lying in bed.
What is going down, world? Welcome to the 40s. I go by the name Black Pegasus, and today I'm checking out Bob Dylan, Tangled Up in Blue. Have no clue what this is about. I have not heard the song, haven't seen this performance before. You know, I always feel like with Bob Dylan, I'm watching the future, but it was from the past, if that makes sense. Back to the Future, probably the best thing I could say about Bob Dylan. You know, people get mad when you say someone's ahead of his time. They're like, yo, that's so cliche, bro. Duh, 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 duh. But I think in instances like Bob Dylan or David Bowie, let's say, you probably should give them their fucking flowers. I don't know where this is going to go. I just see that harmonica wrapped around his neck. And last time I seen one of those on Bob Dylan, he kind of cooked. Kind of went over my head. So we're going to try to dial the F in and see what the hell's going on with your boy, Tangled Up in Blue. We're about to find out. Anyways, if you're here for it, like, share, comment, subscribe, and welcome back to the channel.
They tease him a lot, black peas on the spot. Welcome back, 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 welcome back. 40.
All right, let me get this logo down and pull the video up. Don't forget to support the original content on the channel. If you want to check out my other channel, Pegasus vs. the World, over there I've been doing travel vlogging and some movie reactions. But over here's where I do all the music and the music reactions. So if you're here for the music, you're in the right place. Anyways, if you want access to these reactions early, there's a link in the description to the membership. It gives you early access. I update it every day. There's a big catalog of reactions that haven't been released to the public yet, so you can have some fun in there. Regardless, thank you guys for your support. Huge shout out to all the members on the channel for helping me keep the lights on. Let's check out some Bob Dylan. I'm watching this from his official YouTube channel, so please go over there and watch this without me. Why do I say that? Not trying to be rude. Not that I don't want to have a candlelit dinner with you, side by side, looking you right in your eyes. It's important. What I'm doing is not a substitute for the original, right? People are here for the reaction, the commentary, the breakdown. I'm going to hit pause, right? But it's important to go to the original and watch it and listen to it in the way it was intended to support the original artist. That's why. Anyways, let's get it popping. We're rocking with Bob Dylan, Tangled Up in Blue. Let's see where this goes. I have no clue what's on his face. You know, maybe this was the beginning of Juggalos and ICP. I have no clue, but he has paint on his face. He's dressed more colorful than I've seen before, and I'm freaking here for it.
Early one morning the sun was shining. She was lying in bed, wondering if she changed it all, if her hair was still red. If folks, they said their lives together sure was gonna be rough. They never did like Mama's homemade dress. Papa's bank book wasn't big enough. And he was standing on the side of the road, rain falling on his shoes, heading out for the East Coast. Lord knows he paid some dues, getting through. Tangled up in blue. She was married when they first met, soon to be divorced. He helped her out of a jam, I guess, but he used a little too much force. And he drove that car as far as they could, abandoned it out west. Splitting up on the docks that night, both agree on it was best. And she turned around to look at him as he was walking away, saying over her shoulder, we'll meet again someday on the avenue, tangled up in blue. He had a job in Santa Fe.
Yo, this is so crazy. So Bob Dylan, his story writing ability is so uncanny, but he's not a typical writer. And I'm guessing for the time, like his influence and his impact with the way he chose to write, he had to change the game. He might not have. I don't know. I'm just a guy on YouTube. Hey, man, I ain't the expert. Go, Rick, Professor of Rock, shout out to those guys, the experts. I'm a guest, man, and I'm just listening and enjoying. Sheesh. You guys got to remember, I come from the background of rap, rapper, artist, toured all of this country, America, that is, many of times, toured Europe once, Canada a couple times, Bro, what are we talking about? This dude. Anyways, I don't want to get too crazy in the storyline because it might be fragmented. And a lot of times, I miss stuff because he has this very unique, distinct style of writing. It's not always as straightforward. I felt like the song Rolling Stone he did was a lot more straightforward than some, like, what was it? I think, I don't know if it was Tambourine Man. I think it was. There's one like Oh Mama something, but you guys know what I'm talking about. He has this very obscure, abstract way of writing. And a couple of my first reactions, I think it went over my head a little bit, which is fine. But he's telling a storyline here, he and she. And I don't know if the times are kind of jumbled. I don't know anything yet. But I just like the way he presents. It's also the cadence of his voice. The cadence of his voice, he went, at the very beginning, hold on, let me just show it. Because I was like, yo, he's cooking.
All ever hair was still red. If folks, they said their lives together sure was gonna be rough. They never did like Mama's homemade dress. Papa's bank book wasn't big enough. And he was standing on the side of the road, rain falling on his shoes. Heading out for the East Coast, Lord knows he paid some dues.
So not only are the lyrics taking us on the journey, the way he's going up and down in this vocal pocket, in his range, he's taking us on a journey sonically. And he's Bob Dylan, so he's doing it deliberately, right? I just thought that was cool. I don't know. I like those inflections. I just thought it was like, it's like, how the algorithm on the interwebs, they're like, yo, I got to get you with something at the beginning and then something in the middle and something at the end. And because this is a folk song. How am I supposed to be like a rapper? Like, yo, turn on that Bob Dylan, let's roll, cuz, to some folk music, But he's just doing something where you're like, yo, what? Anyway, all right, let's try to find where we were at last and keep it moving. I'll just bring it back.
Be divorced. He helped her out of a jam, I guess, but he used a little too much force. And he drove that car as far as they could, abandoned it out west. Splitting up on the docks that night, both agree on it was best. And she turned around to look at him as he was walking away, saying over her shoulder, we'll meet again someday on the avenue, tangled up in blue.
At this point, he could be telling stories of different people. He could be telling stories of one person, one couple or different couples, because we've already kind of jumped. It's early on in the track, but I was just thinking about that, like, oh, this could be about multiple, different scenarios. I don't know.
He had a job in Santa Fe, working in an old hotel. But he never did like it all that much, and one day it just went to hell. So he drifted down to New Orleans, lucky not to be destroyed, where we got him a job on a fishing boat docked outside Delacroix. But all the while he was alone, the past was close behind. He's seen a lot of women, but she never escaped his mind, and he just grew tangled up in blue. She was working in a topless place, and I stopped in for a beer. I just kept looking at the side of her face and the spotlight so clear. And later on, when the crowd thinned out, I was just about to do the same. She was standing there right beside my chair, said, don't tell me, let me guess your name. I muttered something underneath my breath. She studied the lines on my face. Must admit, felt a little uneasy when she bent down to tie the laces of my shoes, tangled up in blue. I lived with them on Montague.
Yo, there's so many different scenarios going on. I read this blurb about him, and I forgot where it was from, but it was basically equating him to like a Picasso, the way he writes lyrics, a Picasso style, and how he'll hit different angles. And so when I'm going into this reaction, I'm trying to hear it from the open-mindedness and being different, right? Because on paper, initially I would go into this like, oh, he's highlighting different stories from different situations that have happened to different people or whatever, because he's in a topless bar. And then I liked how he said tied his shoes tangled up in blues. Holy smokes. I don't know. I think sometimes it'd be easier to just say, oh, it's not made to make sense. But I think it is. It's this abstract art that I'm not always privy to because I'm not like a super artsy person, I've never really, I don't even think I've been to an art gallery for real, like a real one or like, But there's an artsiness to his style that I kind of enjoy looking out from the window. Like, yo, what's in there? What? Anyways, he totally changed the game on me with the writing by saying, I went into a topless bar and now we're having this like it's him. But just me understanding kind of, outdoor window looking in to Bob Dylan's lyrics. His writing style, this still could be the characters from the first stanza. And he's just bringing it from he's going first person, third person, this, that, the other. It reminds me of the kung fu movies that I enjoy with the Drunken Monk. Because the Drunken Monk is like this drunken dude who's just kind of kicking it. But when he shows his skill level of kung fu, he's kicking everyone's ass in the movie, and no one expects it because it's such an unorthodox style. It's the most unorthodox style when it comes to kung fu, the Drunken Monk. And there have been these movies where, there's this elaborate villain, and the villain has mastered every style and is kicking everyone's ass, and you're just like, oh, it's the end for the good guy. And then the good guy gets trained by the Drunken Monk, right? The monkey kung fu and the drunken style, and the villain has no clue what's going on, and that awkward, obscure style wins. That's what's happening here for me. I'm just like, ooh, like there's all these storylines, and it's these couples or a couple, because I don't know how he wrote this. Like with him, I actually have to go do research to be like, oh, this is what he meant. But the other thing, you don't have to, because it's just interpretation sometimes. Anyways, I'm enjoying the storyline and how it's kind of throwing me for a loop, and it threw me for a loop the moment he said I.
Tangled up in blue. I lived with them on Montague Street in the basement down the stairs. There was music in the cafes at night and revolution in the air. Well, he started into dealing with slaves and something inside of him died. She had to sell everything she owned and froze up inside. And when it all came crashing down, I became withdrawn. The only thing I knew how to do was keep on keeping on like a bird that flew, tangled up in blue.
Now, this is what I'm saying. Now I feel like we went to the past. He mentioned slaves, I think, in this verse. I don't know. There's a sophistication and intricacy to the way he writes and put these stories together. And now I'm just seeing, if I would have closed my eyes and listened to this would have been different highlights from different moments of like a different movie or a different story each time, different characters. It's almost like, for a bad example of like that show Black Mirror, where every episode has different people and different scenarios. That's what this feels like to me. Not as dark as Black Mirror. That's just the only thing that popped up in my brain, because normally when you're watching a series, it's always the same cast members and they're going through different things. But in Black Mirror, it's always different people in different episodes going through different scenarios. And now that I felt like he almost brought us to the past, he's brought us to first person, third person, like, I don't know. He's bringing up scenarios of being tangled up in blues, and in the sense of being tangled up in something you may not be used to, or just life's challenges. Challenges like, tangled up in blues. That's what I'm getting from this so far.
So now I'm going on back again. I got to get to them somehow. All the faces we used to know, they're an illusion to me now. Some are mathematicians, some are truck drivers' wives. Don't know how it all got started. I don't know what they're doing with their lives. But me, I'm still on the road, heading for another joint. We always did feel the same, we just saw it from a different point of view. Tangled up in blue.
Before I get into the last assessment, how hard is it to play the harmonica? How hard is it? He cooked. Anyways, I felt like that last verse kind of tied everything together. Maybe it didn't. It almost felt like, you know, it almost felt like I was a person traveling, seeing all these things from maybe a truck driver's perspective, a touring artist, and seeing all these scenarios happen within relationships and tying it together at the end. That's what it felt like. However, I feel like that's more of the surface level of what I'm gathering. Knowing Bob Dylan is very creative and artsy, there might be stuff that I'm missing. He might, this could be one couple, and we're going in and out of, he decided to write it in an abstract way where we go from past to present, first person, third person, and narrated it in a way that I'm not going to grasp first time around. But I don't know that to be true. My instincts go to what I've said first, that's just my instincts. So I don't know, but that's what I do enjoy about Bob Dylan, his writing. That's what stands out. Now, I don't want to get on here and pander. I feel like there's a lot of pandering going on in the reaction space, and people have even said stuff to me. This is not my favorite Bob Dylan song. I think the things that stood out to me from him is Rolling Stone specifically and Knocking on Heaven's Door. Those are probably my favorites. When we're talking about lyrics and art, I like this. And having a little more understanding of where he went lyrically with this, fantastic. I'm not, when it comes to folk, like this folk style, it needs a little more for me to add something like this to my playlist. Like a Simon and Garfunkel Bridge Over Troubled Water, that's in the playlist because it just had that extra bit of emotion that I enjoyed for the song. This didn't strike me with a specific evoke of emotion. It really challenged me like a crossword puzzle to figure out the angle, and also just kind of, hey, just sit back and listen to the art being displayed in the poetic, abstract, obscure nature of his writing. That's what I enjoyed, the challenge there. Does this have a ton of replay value for me personally? It doesn't. But I'm glad I experienced it, and I'm going to continue to experience Bob Dylan because I keep finding nuggets. Like I did not know he wrote Knocking on Heaven's Door, and I think I even reacted to a shorter version or something. I didn't. Rolling Stone is my favorite. I think I enjoyed Tambourine Man. I mean, he's a super dope artist, and I understand, or I'm starting to understand his iconic ability and why people are like, yo, check this out. I also think he is a trendsetter because when you think of iconic names, the Johnny Cash, the Elvis, the Bob Dylan, the Bob Marleys, I mean, you can go on. Like, there's so many iconic names. He is in that bunch. I never expected music to sound like this from someone in that, top 5, top 10, impact and musically, and that speaks a lot of volume for me being like a hip hop person who gravitates to a certain style of music to be able to be like, yo, this style of music rose to the top and it was because of him, you know, like folk. And I don't know what I'm saying now. Not trying to gaslight, or what do they call it? Glaze. I'm not trying to glaze. Just trying to give the flowers where they're due. I enjoyed this, and I really like the songwriting, and I'm intrigued to see where else he goes, because there'll be more simplistic style of songwriting he does. I'm like, okay. But then this more obscure stuff, I kind of enjoy the challenge, if I'm being honest. Anyways, you guys, let me know what I got, what I missed. Did I read too far into it? Did I ruin it for you guys? I like this. This was solid. Let me know, and I'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you for being some man. 40 years down the road, back again. FUQ.